Okay, James. So I see that you're starting off your U.S. tour in Atlantic City, and where the story's going to run. Have you performed there before? Or will this be your first time?
Yeah, I played in Atlantic City before in the casino, in one of the casinos there, rather, and it was a really good crowd. I remember it because afterwards I went downstairs to a nightclub downstairs where a friend of mine called Tiesto, the DJ, is playing, and I'm obviously from Ibiza. So it was a nice way to round off the night.
Yeah, a little fun then after the show.
Yeah.
And how is it? How is it for you to come to perform in the U.S.? You have such a worldwide audience. Is it different to be in the U.S., or do the audiences react differently? Is it, how does it compare to, say, when you're at home in the U.K. or when you're in other parts of the world?
Every city around the world has a different character. The States is a big old country with many different states and cities, and all of them have their own little vibe. And I suppose that's what makes touring fun, is because I'm getting up on stage with the same band each night playing the same songs, but the audience each time is different. For me, this is part of a large world tour. The Moon Landing World Tour is started in China. Shanghai on New Year's Eve, is finishing in March 2015. And I suppose what's interesting for me about going to America is, whereas around the rest of the world I'm putting on the biggest production I've ever taken, to match the title Moon Landing, the production is a shocking great affair of lights, lasers, and lunar modules. And when we come to the States, it's a much smaller affair, and we're playing in much smaller venues. Although that's not necessarily as great for my bank balance, it makes for a much more intense and personal concert. So for us, we're really looking forward to it.
So the focus is really on the music and less so on some of the stage effects or the production. Is because it's more streamlined in the U.S. then.
Yeah, well, also I think they're just they're smaller venues, smaller crowds, and so whereas in a larger venue there's a great energy of the large number of people. In a small venue, you can see the whites of everybody's eyes. There's a huge intensity of playing in much smaller venues, and I think audience members almost feel much more connected that way.
And for this new album, what was the inspiration? What was your mindset like when you were starting to, write the songs and put it together?
Really, I think what I was doing is, perhaps on my third, I was writing songs for my third world tour, for the arenas that I was playing in, and writing with an audience in mind. And so, in that way, it's more like a job. Is that your recording? Just something I wonder if it's okay.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? You were saying that it's more like a job? I'm still here. Yes, I'm here.
It was perhaps more with the job in mind. Whereas this time round, I wrote the songs very much on a personal level, without an audience in mind, just very personal songs about my own recent experiences. Some of them good and some of them bad. And I recorded it in the same way. I went back to find the producer who recorded my first album, Back to Bedlam. Tom Rocklock is his name. And we recorded it in that same kind of indie way, underfunded way that we had the first, because we realized that these were very personal songs and we didn't want to lose the songs behind any overproduction.
And having, you had that first, such a huge hit, and then a couple more albums. So when you get to this fourth record, what's it like for you? Or were you feeling any pressure? Did you sort of relax because of the process, the way you decided to record this one, or what was sort of the behind the scenes kind of feeling for it?
I think each album kind of gives a musician a different moment in their lives, and means something different. And for me, My first was an innocent album. My second was a reaction to being thrown into the public eye, and it was to go quite dark. It's called All Lost Souls, which is not a very happy-sounding album. Some Kind of Trouble, the third, is embracing my job and enjoying it and writing songs for the tour. But the fourth, instead, was going back, I suppose, and finding what music really means to me. Not as a job, but as something that is important for me as a way of expression, as a way of documenting and understanding life.
And the title of the album, and sort of the, choosing that, what was that sort of? Where did that come from? The title track.
Well, really, because it's the journey of making it, the journey of going and finding Tom, of he and I living in a studio in Los Angeles, a tiny little studio for a year, like locked away in a capsule. Of the sound of the album, it sounds old school and lonely, romantic, and for us it's a huge achievement. And so yeah, that's why we've called it Moon Annie. It's just reminiscent of those times to me.
Mm. And I'm curious about the song that you dedicated to Whitney Houston. Did you have a personal connection to her? Did you ever get to meet her, or what was the thinking behind that one?
No, I never met her. I know the songs that were played out on the radio as Youre. I think for me it was just understanding that relationship between the singer and the audience, and seeing it with her in such an extreme way of, people being allowed in. And then becoming more inclusive, not about the singer, but of the songs, but about the person behind them, and how the people start to watch her downfall, become more interested in her downfall, buy magazines to read about her downfall, go online to follow her downfall, and that story overtook her talent. And yet we were part of that too, because we were spectating, and it's the same really with Amy Winehouse or Princess Diana to a degree, or Marilyn Monroe.
And do you find, especially when you're at home, are the tabloids interested in you? Is it something you have to deal with in your own way, that people want to know what who you were seen with, or that kind of thing, or do you avoid that?
I try and avoid it as best I can, but it's a constant nervousness, yes, because they are only they're not after truth, they're after sales. And they'll do so, they'll do so, and damage people in the process willingly. You've seen the case with the phone hacking in the UK, which I was talking about.
Right. Yes. Were your phone was unhacked, though? I hope. Yeah. And so we sort of touched a little bit on your first album, and then it was such a huge success, the single. You're Beautiful. So it kind of takes on a life of its own when you have a song like that. And I guess it's something that artists dream about, but then it's also this thing. So I wonder if it's, does it ever feel like limiting, or that you have this song that it was so huge, and can you do it again? Or people only want to hear that song, or they want you to sound like that, but you want to try new things. So what's that been like for you to sort of follow that up?
I think if it's a problem, it's a pretty good problem to have. For me, it's been the cornerstone of a career of 10 years. And, fourth world tour down, fourth album in, it wouldn't be what it is now without that. So I'm very lucky. I think in the States, it's a slightly different thing, because in the States, I'm a one-hit wonder. And that's all I'm known for. But again, if that is a problem, it's still a very good problem to have.
So it's a little different for you outside the States, because you're saying doing the arena tours, arena venues, other places. So your music, is it sort of different markets out there, so that your music has clicked in a way that it hasn't necessarily completely clicked in the States, in terms of, pure hits? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I just have others, and so my audiences reflect that. They're just bigger audiences, And yeah, again, I suppose you can either see that as a bad thing or embrace it and say this is kind of awesome. I'm coming to play in a space where there's audiences are going to be closer to me and it's not going to be a big barrier and the concerts are going to be a change in a good way because of that intensity of the smaller venues. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds good to actually kind of mix it up a little bit, I would think, to have the opportunity to play smaller places and as you said, have that connection.
Of course, everyone, I love playing in arenas, but one arena starts to look like the next eventually.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said?
One arena eventually starts to look like the next.
Right, yes, right, of course, yeah. So, well, you got a long way to go on this tour, so I hope you have some breaks built into it for you.
Yeah, not enough. We love what we do. We get up on stage every night and we play songs. With the band, we're great friends and we're lucky that people turn up, so now we'll push on.